Hey guys, I don't know why, but this weekend I was reminded of a time about 10 years ago where I was at an event and someone I wasn't even a part of the conversation, but I am the type of person I overhear a lot of stuff, started talking about Christians and their silly mathematics and why they can never be right. And I started to jump into the conversation, but a friend of mine, knowing the way I could go, kind of changed the subject and guided it in a different direction before I could say anything. Problem is, it's left me with 10 years wondering of what did this person mean by those silly Christians and their problem with numbers. Because here's the deal. Yes, I grew up in a church. Yes, I grew up hearing the gospel and hearing the word of God. But like a lot of young people in my teenage years, I rebelled. And I went out and did things that good Christians don't do. And I questioned a lot. God has gifted me with a brain that wants to learn and full of questions. So I question his existence. I question my faith, my beliefs, and really struggled for a few years. But honestly, fall of 1986, freshman at OU, my first class of the year, first class in college. By the way, any freshmen out there listening, don't schedule this at 8 o'clock in the morning. Very, very terrible to try and keep up with. But my first class was botany. And it was in this class that it was proven to me that we do have a God. I can remember looking through a microscope at an onion skin and seeing the complexity and the beauty of the cellular division in an onion skin, of all things, just showed me that there is no way that this could have developed by chance. You know, in my life, I've tried to be an artist. I've tried to do things, and when I just try and throw stuff together by chance, it comes out looking pretty ugly. But this was a thing of beauty, and I've seen it other times in my life since then. The idea that everything was created through random circumstance, as Darwin would have us to believe, just doesn't make sense to me. So tonight I'm going to be talking about three main reasons how science and numbers prove that there is a God. And the fact that there is a God leads to Christianity. So I want to start with, if I may, the odds of life even forming on this planet. I did some research recently, came upon this article by Ethan Siegel in Forbes Online. There's a quote in there about finding Earth 2.0. Everybody's worried that this world is going to be destroyed, and with it the human race will be destroyed. Now I do go back on something one of my old professors at OU used to talk about. Doc Brown, human geography, talked about how this world would never support one more life than it was capable of. So, and since then, the population of the world has doubled. So we, as humans, are not doing the best job of being stewards of the planet the way God intended us to be. But at the same time, there's 8 billion people on Earth surviving and living and growing. I can remember those numbers as a young man being told that when we hit 3 billion, there would be worldwide starvation. But using the knowledge that God has given us, we have been able to feed 5 billion more people. But people still worry about finding a new planet. So getting back to Ethan Siegel. So in his article, he says the odds on finding another habitable planet are the factor of 1.7 times 10 to a negative 11. Another place I read in that article says that's roughly 1 in 60 billion chances of even finding a habitable planet. Now then, to just do the simple math of being able to reach such a habitable planet, that we need to focus on the science here on Earth, because it's pretty much the only Earth we're ever going to have. So when we look at that, let's talk about how life came to be here on terra firma. So in his book, Love Your God with All Your Mind, The Role of Reason in the Life of the Soul by J.P. Moreland, he discusses how science has shown that there are 30 different markers. Yeah, there's another number. 30 different markers that had to happen all in precision for life even to happen on our planet. Okay, when one considers if our sun was 1 magnitude brighter or 1 magnitude cooler, life could not be here. If we had more oxygen on the planet, we need oxygen to survive, but it is only, I believe, 5% of our atmosphere. Anything more than that and it becomes toxic to us. If we had more oxygen in this planet, we would die. If our planet was bigger, the gravity alone would not have supported the life forms that we have. If our planet was smaller, it wouldn't have the gravity to hold an atmosphere for us to even be able to live. And this is all numerically proven. Science holds us up the facts of what we have to go with. And then if we go even deeper, one thing that science is totally true on is the fact that you can't create something from nothing. But yet, according to all the latest research, with the Big Bang Theory, it did come from nothing. There was nothing, and then bang, galaxies are formed. Now, this is best described in the Bible. Genesis 1. If we go to that, it tells us, even before I'd ever heard of the Big Bang as a kid, I'd already read about this. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, and it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evening and the morning were the first day. So with a spoken word, light comes into existence, an explosion going out and creating. Okay? The same conversation here, if I can find it, in Douglas Groothuis's book Christian Apologetics. I'm sorry, guys, I lost my place. He talks about here, Darwinism attempts to explain how living things develop into other living things. And I can see where that has happened. Now, to me, I don't believe in full evolution. I believe in genetic drift. Species will adapt and survive, and if they are in isolation long enough, they will develop a separate species. But when we go back to evolution cannot explain something coming from nothing. The ex nihilo in Latin. So, and I'm sorry guys, I'm just totally missing the quote I wanted to use here. Basically, the very existence of life is a miracle in and of itself. I've heard it explained before, and I can't find the exact spot here, that the odds on life being created by Darwinism would be not like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It would be like trying to find a needle in the middle of a field full of needle stacks. I mean, 1 in billions here. So there's our first numbers there. For life to exist, if we look at it just strictly scientifically, with no God or no intelligent design there, the odds are astronomical that it could happen. And here's just a push towards my atheistic science friends. Despite everything, one of the rules of science is that for something to be true in science, it has to be replicable in a scientific setting or in a setting. No one has been able to replicate life coming about. No one has been able to replicate being able to create something from nothing. The only time that has ever happened is as described in Genesis 1 or with the Big Bang Theory. But let's jump up a little bit